course, it's like, be-dee-doo, 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 because that's Molly's alarm. And I'm like, Molly, that's your alarm. She's like, oh, yes, I know. I'm going to get out of the tent and take photos. And like unzip. It's like, oh, I just can't see him very good right now. I'm going to reset my alarm for 1 a.m. Okay, perfect. Then it's like sleeping a little more. Be-dee-doo, be-dee-doo, be-dee-doo. Molly, that's your alarm. Okay, I'm really going to do it this time. And you did. You got out and you wandered around and took some pictures. And I kind of listened to hear how things went. Hi, I'm Carrie.
And I'm Molly.
And you're listening to the
Two Sisters on Adventures podcast.
So here we are. We're finally at Tapto Lakes. We've made it through every obstacle. There will certainly be none on the way back. Okay. And we're finally just able to bask in this beautiful view that we've waited so long for. We've applied for this lottery for a couple years, and we finally were able to make it happen.
So we kind of just, it's a basin, right? It's multiple, it's pretty expansive, and we didn't even explore every single area or corner of it. We stuck closer to the main lakes, but we just kind of, we kind of wandered around a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of the mountaineering course we took last year, Carrie, when we kind of started to climb up towards Lake Sahalee Peak, where it's just, this rocky area that the glaciers have scoured. And so, like Carrie mentioned, we kind of cruised around, just choose your own adventure, figure out how you want to get down to wherever you're going, which it's a cross-country zone. So really the rules are camp on a durable surface and, find a spot, because there's not any established campsites in that zone. So we cruised around and we found some dirt that we could pitch our tents on, and then we proceeded to kind of set up our camp. And then fortunately for us, it was early afternoon when we got there. So we decided we were actually going to go for a little swim, and the water in the lower lake that we decided to take a dip in was so incredibly icy. I'm trying to remember who went in first. Was it you, Carrie?
So the funny thing is, we actually, before we even set up our tent site, did this because we wanted to dry out. Yes. And we were still hot from hiking in the day. But it was funny because the lake that was behind us was still, like Molly had said last episode, it still had literal ice on it. Like throughout the night, we heard the pieces of ice breaking apart. And actually, it flowed from one side of the lake to the other. I remember in the morning, we were like, that ice was not all over here, was it? But it was funny because, right, so that's filled with ice, and that lake flowed into this lake, which flowed into the outlet, basically, and then probably cascaded in a beautiful waterfall somewhere.
Yes.
So it was funny because I'm the first one to get in the lake, and everyone's like, go, Carrie, get in the lake. And I got in, and I was like, you guys, it's so cold. It's so cold. And I'm kind of a baby about cold water anyway, because I'm like, why would I want to do that? But I was like, it was so hard for me to even make myself go underwater, and they're all just like, you can do it, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. I did. I didn't do like a dive, but I remember I folded into the water. And so it's funny because I took a video because I thought it was gonna be all cool, but of course it's just like the lamest video in the world of me folding myself into like a weird, like a book, and then letting my head go underwater, and then I'm so cold. But then it was hilarious because then it was Molly and Rachel's turn to get in the water, and they seemed to think it was cold as well.
Yeah, so I waded in, which we did not jump into the water. We just waded into an area where you could stand. And then I think we were at waist deep water, and then trying to get the courage to actually submerge yourself. And it was icy cold. Here I was like, Carrie, you little sister of mine, get in that water. It's not that cold. And then I was in there and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to do this. I'd just rather get out, please. But so I don't know, one of our friends we were hiking with a couple of years ago was telling us about when she was, I think it was jumping off of waterfalls, canyoneering. And she was like, the only way I could make myself, jump off was if I was just 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go, and forced herself to do it on 4. So I used that technique and it worked great. And then I had to do a lot of screaming afterwards because it was very cold. And then,
which can I just say, Molly? So I was like, take a video of me screaming, and then, of me swimming. She's always like,
restart it.
take a video of me swimming. And it's just so funny because it just is a total, like a video of her screaming as she like splashes around in the water. Like she did that at Broken Top one time in Oregon. And it's just so funny. I'm always like, well, we got to overlay that with some music.
I know, it's really horrible because any of the like true like alpine lakes, I don't think I have one video of myself swimming or jumping into it where it's a cool video, because every time I'm just like screaming because it's so cold. So maybe I'll have to work on that at some point. But Rachel, I got out, and then that was a nice feeling to kind of sun ourselves on the rocks. And then Rachel went in, and she too found the need to build up her courage to submerge, and then we all did that, and then it felt really good, I think, Carrie, on all of your mini devil's club scars.
Yeah, it was real nice to kind of rinse off all those bad boys, although they were just too far gone. I mean, they had clotted up nicely and stuff, but yeah, it was nice to get some of the dirt off of them. So we didn't actually have to use our wet wipes that night because we actually cleansed ourselves in the amazing water of Tapto Lakes.
And the other thing I was going to mention is, so we got in the water, and it was a good call on our part to not set up camp to like get in and take a dip first, because then we could start to dry off on the rocks. And then it was like, getting closer to probably 5 p.m., a little bit more evening, and then the mosquitoes started to come out. So at least we got to dry off a decent amount and just lay there in the sun before the mosquitoes started to like return as the heat of the day waned.
Yeah, so then it was time to put on the long pants and the long sleeves and the head nets.
Oh, yes.
And we kind of just were like, we'd set up our tents, and then it was like, okay, now it's time to make dinner. So we decided to go make dinner, and so, you grab your stuff, and we're cooking away from our camp. So we went up like a little bit higher on the hill for a more scenic view and hopefully a little bit more wind for the mosquitoes. And we cooked our delicious meals. And it was funny because I remember that either Molly or Rachel was like, should we bring a blue bag with us? And I think that we did. But so we go up there and we are just enjoying alpenglow. Yeah, for supper. We sat up high and we're just enjoying the beautiful alpenglow on the glacier. I mean, like, that is probably one of my favorite sunsets, just because this area is so stunning. I shouldn't tell you guys, because how am I ever going to get a permit to go back there again? But anyway, so we made our dinner and we ate it. And then this is where things start to get a little bit funny. So back when we were talking with the ranger before we went up there, we were supposed to use these blue bags, which historically are supposed to be like blue colored bags so that you don't have to see
the contents.
Human waste, i.e. feces. And they had, I mean, you know what? The North Cascades has a budget, and that's fine. They should be funded better maybe after this podcast. So they give you this plastic bag, which you are to close with a twisty tie. And there is basically like a puppy pad inside of it that's very small. And so Shelvin told us what works for him, which we did not find to work for us. But he said, when you need to eliminate your bowels, you can just find a nice spot, and then when you poop, you can just pick up the poop with the like puppy pad absorbent thing and just put it in the bag. Okay, so then Rachel was the first who needed to use the restroom that night, and so she went and did it. And when she came back, we were like, "Well, how'd it work? How'd it work?" And she said, "Oh, that worked totally fine." So we were like, "Okay, great. Now we'll just know how to do it the next day." So I'm not going to tell you how the next day went until yet. You got to stick around. But let me tell you. Not good. Not good is how it went. So after that, we kind of wandered around a bit more, enjoyed the sunset, a little bit of photo shoot. We took some pictures of ourselves flossing our teeth to give to our dental hygienist because you gotta take care of your mouth even if you're in the wild.
And then probably one of my favorite parts as the sun was setting was just looking at Whatcom Peak, which was basically across the valley from us. We got to see the reflection of Whatcom Peak in the lake in front of us and just really enjoy what that looked like. And then as the sun, went away and it started to become more dusky, we took a couple pictures of just kind of that area of Tapto, and then even got to enjoy as the stars came out as well.
Well, and then I got to enjoy. So Molly, God bless her, is a super positive person. And she's always like, I'm going to get out in the middle of the night and do astrophotography. And it's going to be the most beautiful thing you'll ever see in your life. So she set an alarm for like 11 p.m. and like 1 a.m. And
really?
yes, you
Multiple times?
more than one alarm.
I got out of the tent.
Well, I think you didn't get it out of the tent every alarm.
Well,
So
why
you
did I set so many?
because you thought it was going to be better later and you thought you would be just willing to pop right out. So of course it's like, you get ready for bed, you brush your teeth, I brush my hair, I do all my camp chores. We got everything all, settled down for the night. And again, so fun. No one else is there. Love it. Yeah. And so we're all ready to go to bed. And, then of course we snuggle into our sleeping bags and I'm just like dead asleep. And then of course it's like, be-dee-doo, 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 because that's Molly's alarm. And I'm like, Molly, that's your alarm. She's like, oh yes, I know. I'm gonna get out of the tent and take photos. And like unzip. It's like, oh, I just can't see him very good right now. I'm gonna reset my alarm for 1 a.m. Okay, perfect. Then it's like sleeping a little more. Be-dee-doo, be-dee-doo, be-dee-doo. Molly, that's your alarm. Okay, I'm really going to do it this time. And you did. You got out and you wandered around and took some pictures. And I kind of listened to hear how things went.
And it was cool because, like Carrie mentioned, we could actually hear the ice in the lake kind of like above where our tent was pitched. I don't know, moving around or floating. And I don't have a lot of strong memories, but I just remember it was really cool to be out there taking some pictures with a lot of stars, and I'll post a couple for you to enjoy as well. So I'm sorry, Carrie, for being so disruptive to you. But sometimes I don't completely awaken to my alarm, and I don't know if it was at this point or shortly thereafter that Carrie had to sit me down and told me, like, Molly, you have to just when your alarm goes off, you can't just let it keep playing indefinitely until you just fall asleep to the tune of make the alarm sound. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do. You just have to turn it off and get up. So I've tried to do that, and it's been a very helpful tip. So for all of those who at any point in their life have maybe listened to the alarm go on for 20 minutes until it turns off, and then that's very stressful because you're afraid you're going to be late for work, take the advice of Carrie
and just get up. Get the heck out of bed. You can actually clip that and make that your morning alarm if you want. Get out of bed. Get out of bed. Don't make anyone else listen to this alarm any longer. Get out of bed. Molly, I'm going to record that. I'm going to make that for you. But don't play that in the backcountry, please, because then I'll be like, why am I talking to myself, So anyways, other than that, it was a good night. It was a restful night. I don't know. I think I might have looked outside as you got up and I was like, cool, the night sky. But it's rare that I will be dragged out of bed once I'm in bed.
Including even for sunrises. Like there have been backpacking trips where I have set my alarm like for right as the sun is coming up, like 5:30 a.m. and like get out and look around and take pictures and then get back in bed. And Carrie cannot be bothered to rouse herself from her slumber. And that's okay. Good for you.
I'm always like, how's it look? And she's always, without fail, she's like, well, it's not quite as good as I was hoping, but I think it's really going to turn into something. And I'm like, okay, so that's going to be just like not as good as the sunset I saw. Thanks. Have fun. Like, have you ever had a good morning sunrise that was like beautiful and brilliant like you imagined?
No. Nope.
But I say Molly's got that golden retriever energy because she's still going to go out there. She's going to set her alarm and listen to it. And she's going to still see if it's a nice sunrise or not. And
it never fails. Like every single time I get up out of the tent super early to check out the sunrise, it's like one of those times where the sun just comes up and now the sky is brighter. Yeah. The one that I got up to watch after we did the Goat Rocks and we were like looking at Rainier, I think was kind of cool, but was it better than the sunset the night before? No. So then I'm just out of my tent cruising around, and then Carrie's laying in her bed getting extra hours of sleep.
Although I wouldn't really call it sleep, probably. Once I've been disrupted by doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. What, so now that takes us to the next morning. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. It's time for us to get out of bed. So we got out of bed, and you know me, I've already got things percolating, moving through the system,
Gosh. But this is a point of offense that I took from Carrie because we decided before we even made our breakfast, we were going to just cruise around and check out Tapto Lakes. Like, we didn't even eat, did we? I think we were just walking around. So I personally said, well, I'm going to bring a blue bag with me because I would hate to be a mile from my tent and desperately need to go number 2 in Tapto Cross Country Lakes, whatever it's called, cross country zone. So We like climb up this hill, and we actually, I said the other segment that we didn't really explore all of it, but we explored a lot of it. So we were roaming around. We found like some little tarns, and we went up these hills and down to this corner kind of in the other side of the cross country zone. And we were sitting there on a hill, like enjoying the view.
So, okay, here's a problem.
And Carrie said something to me.
So here's a problem. Here's what she said. I'm bringing a blue bag with me. Here's what I heard. I'm bringing this blue bag for you in case you need to go to the bathroom. Because I'd hate for you to have that problem, Carrie. So all of a sudden I was like, uh-oh, I think I'm going to have to go poop. And sometimes when it hits me, it's like, it's time. So I was like, no, I can probably make it all the way back over there. And then I was like, no, I certainly can't, Molly. Give me your blue bag. And she's like, well, I might have to go bathroom in the next 10 or 15 or 20 minutes or so. And then I'm going to have to get my own. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom in the next 1 minute or so. So that sounds like it's a little more pressing for me, doesn't it? So I thought, well, this will be no big deal. Like, Molly has graciously given me her bag, which was why she brought it.
She forced me to give it to her.
Well, you wanted to give it to me. In your heart, you wanted to. So anyway, Molly graciously offered and said, please, please, please take my bag. I don't want it for myself anymore. And I took it, at her behest. Anyways. So I'm trying to use more words from the English language.
It's because you're talking so much about poop, you got to use words that like behest to kind of cancel it out.
Anyway, so at her behest, I took the bag. And I found a semi-private area, aka...
There's no such thing as a private area because it's literally, there's no trees. There's like some heather, but the heather is not tall enough to block out the view.
There was a lot of heather and a little bit of rocks. That comes into play in the story. So basically, I was just trying to search for a site where I was not close to a water source because that's disgusting. Even if you're taking your poop with you, I was like, man, I don't really want to poop near a water source. So, okay, this again is where I take issue with Shelvin. God bless him. And I'm sorry if people don't like when we talk about poop, but I can't. This is part of the experience on trail. I've never been criticized for it, but I also feel like someone should, but please don't. Anyway, I'm very sensitive. So I remember he said, just poop on the ground and then pick it up like it's a doggy, bag or whatever. And so I did. And here's the thing he didn't mention was if you poop on heather and you don't have like the most solid little pebbles in the world that you do, you will be there scraping it off the heather because you're trying to get as much of it as possible. And then when you put it into the bag, it just gets on the sides of the bag. So you're just trying not to get it on your hands. And I remember I was just getting like more and more upset because Rachel said it was just fine the night before. And here I'm having like this horrible experience where like I'm trying to scrape it off the heather and it's stuck there and the flies are descending and it's getting on the bag. And I'm worried it's going to get on the outside of the bag, which is really disgusting. And there's no odor neutralizing thing. And I finally like twisty tie it shut and I start going back to the campsite and Molly's like just gotten back from the campsite and with her little bag like, well, how'd it go for you with my bag? Even though I begged you to use it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, do not do what he said. I was like, you need to poop onto the pad and then just pick that bad boy up and put it in there. I was like, honestly, I'm so grumpy right now. I've just had the true like blue bag trauma. This is the worst thing that's happened to me on this trail and I have a permanent scar. And so I think Molly was actually happy that she went after me because she got a lot of good tips.
And so as Carrie and I have mentioned on our JMT episodes, it's like clockwork and we are in sync when it comes to the morning bowel movement. And so that's why we did have to invest in 2 trowels because the one trowel method was creating more problems than it was solving. So I came back up from the campsite with my own bag and Carrie gave me her beta. And so what I actually did, and I was pretty proud of myself, I went to a snowfield and I put the puppy pad on the ground and then I actually made a hole in the snow and then just lined the hole with the puppy pad, which we keep calling it a puppy pad. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And then I just went in the hole that was lined with a puppy pad and then just picked it all up and put it in the bag. And it was so clean and easy breezy. I was like, to be honest with you, I would just use a blue bag every day this style, like whatever. So no drama for me.
You're welcome.
So at Carrie's
You haven't thanked me yet.
At Carrie's behest, I used a different strategy and it worked well. So Carrie, I wanted to take this moment to thank you for suffering so that I could thrive.
You're welcome. I will lead you. So anyway, just a quick hot tip. Unless you got like the firmest stuff in the world, I would say definitely do as Molly did, not as I did.
And then we've also had to use blue bags in a situation where there is no puppy pad. And we've found that just literally holding it while you go works really well also. And so we've had very smooth blue bag experiences, but Carrie's poor experience was not great. And then did Rachel make an admission to you, Carrie?
So here's the worst part is I said to Rachel, how did you make that work? It went so poorly for me. Like I am grumpy, super grumpy right now because I had a terrible time. And she was like, yeah, it actually didn't work very well for me either, but I felt like it was just because I couldn't figure it out and I didn't want to admit it. And I was just like, thanks so much. Because now I have that permanent blue bag trauma for the rest of my life. But anyway, so I would just say, hot tip, hold it. He said not to do that, but you know what? It works just fine for me.
Yeah,
so
really?
Just figure out what you need to do. But
you could practice at home in advance, but no, you don't ever want to do that at home. Just wait until you get there and then figure it out. But do not do what Shelvin said unless that would apply specifically to you.
So we were just looking at some of our pictures from Tapto Lakes. First of all, Molly got up at 5:30 to see the sunrise, and every single picture looks almost identical to the picture that she took at the sunset. But I'm still happy for you. Secondly, so basically after this all happened, we pack up camp, we get our food, organized for the day.
We were really just having a very laid back time because I was thinking I may never come back here again. And this is one of the most beautiful locations I have ever been in my entire life. And I have been privileged to be in many beautiful places. So I'm going to hang out here and enjoy. So we're looking at these pictures.
And I see a picture of Rachel doing the peace sign, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a girl doing the peace sign at 11:15 a.m. And it seems to be that she does not know that she's going to have to go 17 freaking miles today. I don't actually understand what happened. Did we not notice that was our itinerary? Because I know that we knew we had to go from point A to point B, but what? Like, oh my gosh, did we think we were going all downhill? We thought it was all downhill. Yeah. And we were also all like, oh, well, we'll just be able to go through Graybill really easy because we went one way through that. So we'll just go straight back through on the way back. And it's all downhill. Wow. These girls were filled with delusion. That's crazy. I'm so happy for them.
So yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, we took it real slow that day. We really soaked it in, which was fine. I do remember we actually stayed in our tent so long that morning prior to...
That was the next morning.
Okay, fine. But anyways, so I think it got warm in the tent that morning too. And it was spicy hot when we were going to leave at 11 a.m. I was kind of like, oh gosh, like it's the heat of the day. Whoops.
Yeah, so anyway, we'll tell you all about that next week on next week's episode. But oh my gosh, those girls left at 11:15 a.m. to do a 17-mile day in the North Cascades on this trail. That is crazy. So thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Two Sisters on Adventures podcast. We're so glad you're here. If you'd like to hear... if you would like to hear, you could be listening, so you already are. But if you'd like to see any of the things that we talked about via pictures or video, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Two Sisters on Adventures. And also, you can feel free to rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you hear this fill your ears. Thanks so much for listening, guys. Bye.